My video will analyze the European migratory crisis, which has begun since 2010 as the biggest migratory crisis of the last century. First, I will explain the difference between an asylum seeker and an economic migrant. Then, I will talk about the Arab Spring and the different political crises in the Near and Middle East. I will also talk about how the different European countries manage this crisis by different ways. I hope to be the clearest possible. The migratory crisis should take into account economic migrants and asylum seekers. This categorization is complex and that has been the subject of much debate. But why is this crisis so complex? An economic migrant is somebody who leaves his country for economic reasons, and precisely because of extreme poverty. Indeed, 40% of the mondial population lives with 5% of the global average income. The extreme majority of these people lives in the southern countries. Their families are often large, with a lot of children to feed, and logically the parents need a work. On this map, we can see the multitude of roads to the European El Dorado, because in Europe there is more job, more social protection, better ways to live. But the economic migrants come unlawfully in Europe, so they aren't well paid, and the jobs are always undeclared, so they haven't got any social protection. Even if they could have more money than they had in their origin countries, it's often like a trap, a broken dream. Somebody who leaves his country for security reasons is a refugee, a political refugee. Because of the pressing and urgent situation, a lot of refugees leave their countries for neighboring countries, and after some of them want to travel to Europe by many. What is the Arab Spring? Which countries claims to be an Arab nation? Arab countries are the states who joined the Arab League, and we can see it on this map. Now we can see all the political movements in the Arab nations. We can see in Tunisia, in Libya, or in Egypt, for example. But not only manifestations, but real protestations against the power and it propagating to the other countries. If we focus on the example of Syria, we can see a failed state with a war against Bashar al-Assad, Russia and ISIS. It caused a lot of refugees, political refugees. In 2012, there was 200,000 refugees in neighboring countries like Turkey, Lebanon, Jordan or Iraq. On this map we have the situation in 2015, and there are precisely all the main roads of migrants in Europe. They are in Italy, in Turkey or in Hungary. Dutchland and France are the two countries who welcome the most of refugees. The European Union, with Frontex, the European Agency for the Management of Operational Cooperation and the External Borders, try to master this flow of human beings in distress. There is a relation between migrants' road and Frontex operation. For example, in Lampedusa, the island will become a primary European entry point for migrants. There was a lot of rescues because they come in Europe with fragile boats. This picture represents the shock of the opinion. Aileen Kurdi, 3 years old, death on the beach, next to Bodrum in Turkey. After this, we can counting a lot of movements for support to refugees appears in different countries in Europe. In the European Union, there are centers of confinements, and there are a lot in Dutchland and in France, the two countries who welcome the most of refugees. There are two types of camps: expectation of admissions and expulsions. And there is more camp of expulsions. There are also some not official camps, like the most known Calais. The media naming is a Calais jungle. It was dismantled not long ago. The complexity of the situation brings incomprehensions and sometimes bring rejections or hatred. For example, Pegida, a xenophobic organization in Deutschland, manifests against migrants in Europe. Are there solutions against the economic migration? Maybe a better sharing of the richest in production between northern countries and southern countries, as does fair trade. Personally, I think it's just a start.